In this tutorial, we're going to talk about the Start and Idle tab. So if you go to the Start tab, one thing I want to point out is the stat synced parameter. While cranking, if this does not turn on, then likely you either have a cam sensor or a crank sensor wiring issue. Down here is the crank advance. This is the timing of the ignition coils during cranking. Up here is the crank injector timetable. This is a fuel offset versus throttle position while cranking. Notice at the very end of the table I have it go down to 0. This is only used in case the car gets flooded, you can clear it out. If you look at fuel injector 1 pulse, you'll notice that it goes to 0 when I get to 100% throttle. Over here is the warm-up enrichment table. This is a fuel pulse versus coolant temperature trim. Down here, start extra versus temp and start extra decay tables. These two work in conjunction with one another to determine an additional fuel pulse after the car starts based on coolant temperature. Over here is the initial crank pulse table. It's similar to the crank injector timetable, but this is just a one-time shot of increased fuel to the engine while cranking. If you go to the idle tab, one thing I want to note, we don't control the idle air motor. You can if you need to, but note if you do that you will lose one of the available outputs to the EMS. We just use this tab to help stabilize idle, basically using this table right here, which is called the ignition versus idle RPM table. I'm going to go back to the Start tab. Two things I want you to watch is the stat sync, that this does turn on while cranking. And also note the fuel injector pulse. You'll see an increase of fuel for 1 split second, and that's coming from the initial crank pulse table.